So first of all, Hicham, thanks so much for the meeting. Thanks so much for having the time for us to talk about it. I will briefly introduce myself. My name is Andre. I work for Strafe Esports, and of course, it's my second job. I also work as IT manager here at Bayer, the pharmaceutical company. So I do a little bit of both. But today we are here to talk about the Ninjas in Pyjamas 25th anniversary, to talk a little bit about the current state of the company and where we are going, right? And I'd like to first welcome you and ask you a little bit for you to introduce yourself for fans who may not know you directly, and also talk a little bit about why you have chosen to join Ninjas in Pyjamas as a CEO, and how have the experience have been going so far?
Absolutely. I think that if you look at myself, I'm still pretty young, I'd like to think, right? I'm 36 years old. I started my career very early, though. So when I was 18, I was headhunted to work at one of the world's largest investment companies. I spent 9 years there, and towards the end, I was managing one of the largest hedge funds in the world. And after you do that for 9 years and you start at such an early age, I sort of wanted to see the world a little bit. But also, I was tired, right? 9 years in finance is a very long time. So I was taking a sabbatical. And during a couple of years before, I founded a company which sponsored NIP in 2014. So when NIP ran into financial troubles, I decided to invest into it, but I was still in my finance job. So when I started getting tired and felt it was need for sabbatical, NIP had still financial issues. So I decided, well, let's take 6 months. Let's jump in, clean it up, give it to someone else, and let someone else run with it. And the sole reason for that was, well, at that point, it was 15 years of history and legacy, right? And I wanted that preserved. I also used to be an NIP fan during the 2000s, so I didn't want to see that go and die. And for me, it was always like, it's a 6 months thing. I'm going back to finance. 9 years later, the sabbatical is still ongoing. We've taken what was once a Counter-Strike team to be 19 teams in 16 different games, uh, and built the largest esports team in the world, but also one of the largest leading gaming entertainment companies in the world. And I am pretty much, as a person, driven of making an impact. So as long as I feel like I can challenge status quo, make an impact, push things forward, I will continue doing that. And I'm very much feeling that still in esports, and in particular the last 5 years at NIP.
Awesome, awesome. And that must be you must be very proud of what you have achieved so far, because when we talk about esports organizations, NIP financial stature is not something only NIP was facing, because keeping yourself sustainable in the in the esports world is not something easy to accomplish, right? So my question would be, what does NIP does differently than the others to keep itself sustainable, and what has changed in all these years of the sabbatical experience you're still having in NIP to keep it not only sustainable but progressing, improving, and evolving as a company overall?
Mm. So I think there's two elements to the sustainability aspect and being in the position we are in right now. Number one is, over the years, we have been extremely disciplined, right? Even when esports boomed and exploded during the 16, 17, 18, with a lot of VC money flowing in, we remained with a realistic view on esports, the size of it, the revenue monetization possibilities, and we didn't allow ourselves to get carried away, which from 16 to actually 2023, NIP was a very profitable entity in the midst of that boom and all the unprofitability you saw. But also for me, I come from finance and I think about it a little bit. A keyword has always been for me diversification. So When I came into NIP, it was just one Counter-Strike team. We needed to diversify games. That is why we're in every single game title that is relevant in this largest market for us game titles. So diversify the esports footprints and the games, not only because of performance, but also for size and scale. And then I was like, okay, we are literally in every single game we want to be in, we are capped out. How do you continue growing the business? So we wanted to continue diversifying. And that's when we decided, well, we are the largest esports team in the world. How can we become one of the leading gaming entertainment players in the world? So we diversified out of esports, which has a gaming audience, a gaming fan base, into wider video games with talent management. So we have a talent management agency with 36,000 content creators, influencers, and live streamers. Then we're like, okay, we're producing our home games in our arenas for League of Legends and Kings of Honor. How can we take that business outside of esports? So now we do music concerts, festivals, we produce for other publishers. And then we're like, okay, internet cafes are dying. What's the next thing? We want a physical component. So now we do esports and gaming hotels. And then we're like, well, we're promoting the publishers' games. What about we build a publishing team and start publishing games? So we scaled into games publishing. And then we're continuing this scaling, but all anchored in that esports audience and gaming centric approach. Because if esports isn't performing, we have a multitude of diversified verticals which carries the business. If they're not performing, esports is performing, it brings you stability in the business to have the capacity to think about what's the next 25 years.
Very good, very good. And speaking of this diversification, I haven't said, but I'm from Brazil, and Ninjas in Pyjamas have a lot of experience here in Brazil as well. So we are very good, we're very well aware of how NIP diversification have been providing a lot of experience for fans across the world, right? So, in terms of performance, you have said, well, sometimes one side isn't performing, the other side balances it out. But as we can see right now, the Counter Strike esports team is proving itself again and it's reaching its top performance once again. How do you feel this has blended in with all the expectation around the company as a whole, and what are your expectations with Counter Strike 2 and the team as a whole?
Yeah. I think from our Counter-Strike momentum, we feel it a lot internally. The back to winning again, climbing the ranks and so on. You feel it a lot internally, and particularly on the mood of people, the momentum you have internally, because there a lot of them are Counter-Strike people at the core, right? That's even though we've built this massive company doing all these other things, it's Counter-Strike we come from. So obviously that has a very big impact on how people at NIP are smiling, right? If you look at the company as a whole, esports is only 20% of our revenue, and Counter-Strike is probably less than half of that. So, on the big scheme of the company, you won't really notice it, right? But of course, you notice that there's momentum, the fans are engaged, the players are excited, your staff, it's very pleasurable to be at the office. We're doing kick-ass things that you're feeling it on, which is affecting the rest of the business. But even last year, we probably had our all-time low year in terms of competitive performance. NIP Group still grew in revenue and improved the profitability, right?
Cool. Cool. Yeah, that's very cool. But as you said, we are Counter Strike fans. I came from Counter Strike as well. So it's good to see NIP reaching again its top performance because we know what your guys are capable of, right? So you said we are celebrating its first 25 years, but you are already on the lookout for the future. And the question is, what is NIP looking forward to, things that it haven't touched yet? What are the plans for the future?
Yeah. For us, it's always going to esports is always going to remain where we come from and what we care about, right? And winning is and entertaining fans is the most important things. So expect that not to change over the 25 years, right? But expect us to have more resources and capabilities to facilitate that. So esports will remain a core pillar of the company, even though it's not the biggest revenue driver for us. And we will be continuing building out all the verticals that we have across talent management, publishing, events production, hospitality. But the world is changing, right? So we have also taken notice what's happening in the blockchain space. We have launched our fan loyalty platform. We just announced two partnerships in that regard. So we're looking very active at the blockchain and crypto space. And also AI is a huge thing which is going to benefit the games industry once it starts maturing. So we are also obviously on top of that trend and looking at what we do in that space. So esports, what we do already do that really, really good. And then there's a couple of mega trends that we know of now, which we are on top of, but I can't tell you what is hot and what's coming up 10 years from now, right?
Yeah, sure, sure. But that's good to continues looking right. So, Hitchin, I feel like we are almost at time here. So I would like to thank you again for this time. I feel like we could be chatting for the whole day talking about NIP here. But yeah, but as a last message to the fans, to the world, what would you like to share and send your regards to the Stray fans?
I would say I've been part of the journey where esports went from a subculture living under the surface to taking it above the surface. I think that for where we are and what we see, even though esports in games feels big, it's not even close to the potential that we can realize. And when we sit, hopefully, and do the 50 years anniversary, which is 25 years from now, we can talk about how we, in comparison to other sports teams and sports in the world, have the same history, the same legacy, the same size, because the world is a digital native place, and it is not expected that NIP or the esports industry becomes smaller from here and over the next 25 years.
Indeed, indeed. So thank you again, Hichan. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to NIP for its 25th anniversary. We are very happy to be a part of it, and it is my sincere hope to see NIP continue to evolve, continue to grow. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. Talk to you soon, and see you next time.
Thank you, Andre.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Dan,
Andre.
for that. Have a nice day, guys.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
See you
Ciao.
soon.
Bye bye.